The first cement truck hit my bridge like it owned the place. It rolled up the driveway with a bloated driver grin, men with hard hats spilling out, and Karen standing at the gate with her phone held high like a judge. She pointed and shouted, "You can't stop progress! Move aside!" The driver laughed. The truck rolled. My porch shook. My little girl was inside doing homework. I stood in the middle of my driveway and felt the wood groan under a weight that wasn't supposed to be there. "I called the HOA," Karen said, voice sweet and poisonous. "They said we have permission." She looked at me like I'd lost my mind for Karen about one old bridge. I kept my hands in my pockets. Saying anything loud would give her the picture she wanted, me the angry fool. Instead, I smiled thin and said, "This is my land." She blinked as if the words were foreign. The next truck backed up. The men started to pour cement right over the middle of the span. People love to assume power just because they hold a clipboard. Karen did that. She taped a fake notice to my front door that morning claiming an emergency road project. She tried to make neighbors turn on me. She called the cops twice and hung up, then called again, this time with a sobbing neighbor acting like a witness. I heard her whisper into the phone, "Arrest him if he tries to stop us." My heart thudded, but my voice stayed quiet. "Call him then. Tell him whose bridge you're ruining." I wasn't just a guy with a broken bridge. I'd spent 10 years building things for the Army. Not fireworks, not traps, bridges, maps, permits. I knew how bridges fail and how people with small minds hide behind big machines. I also knew how to make a scene that would not just stop trucks, but make everyone ask questions they'd rather not answer. I reached into my pocket, felt the cold of my badge and the corner of an old permit I'd never shown anyone, and then looked at Karen like she'd just lit a fuse. She smiled, confident. The men kept working. I didn't move. I only did one thing. I opened my phone and started recording. "You don't get to drive cement over other people's lives," I said, low enough for the camera, but loud enough for her. The truck hissed. The camera light blinked. And somewhere inside my house, someone on the other end of a line picked up.
That night, I didn't sleep. The bridge creaked every time the wind shifted, the sound crawling through the floorboards. They had poured half a load of cement on it before sunset, just enough weight to crack the center beams. I stood by the window and watched the headlights of another truck pause at the far end, like they were checking if I was still awake. They backed off eventually, but I knew they'd be back in the morning. Karen wasn't the type to lose a fight quietly. At dawn, I walked down to the bridge. My boots sank in the mud. The air smelled like wet cement and arrogance. The cracks in the wood were deeper now, splinters poking out like bones. I knelt down and ran my hand over the edge where the truck tires had cut into the surface. "You'll learn," I muttered. Then I got to work. See, people think trap means something violent. Not mine. Mine was quiet, legal, and devastating. I set up a pair of trail cameras hidden in the trees, pointed one at the bridge and another at the entrance gate. I even put up an old warning sign that read, "Private property, bridge unsafe." I made sure it was visible in every frame. If the HOA trucks came again, I'd have proof that they ignored it, and that would turn every repair bill, every broken board, every ounce of damage into their responsibility. By afternoon, Karen came marching up with her sunglasses and a folder like she was some government official. "You're blocking community work. We voted." I looked at her, calm as stone. "You can't vote on something you don't own." She smirked. "We'll see about that. Another load's coming in an hour." I smiled just enough for her to notice. "Good," I said. "Make sure you drive straight across." She didn't realize what she'd just agreed to. She didn't know that under that cracked wooden surface, I had loosened the planks, not to make anyone fall, but just enough that when the heavy truck rolled in again, the bridge would sink halfway and scare the life out of them. It wouldn't break, but it'd make the point. I stood there watching her walk away, that arrogant sway in her step. When the second truck came, Karen stood beside it, filming, shouting, "Go on! He can't stop you!" The tires rolled forward, the planks groaned, and then, with a deep, splintering sound, the bridge dropped 6 inches. The truck froze, cement splashed, Karen screamed, stumbling backward into the mud. I just stood there, phone in hand, recording it all. I said to myself, this is the part where the real story begins.
Karen's scream echoed across the valley like a siren. The truck driver jumped out, cursing as his boots splashed in the wet cement. The front tires were buried half deep in the cracked planks, the truck tilting dangerously toward the creek below. Karen shouted, "You sabotaged it! You tried to kill us!" I stepped forward, calm, recording every second. "I warned you," I said. "The sign says bridge unsafe. You ignored it." She tried to snatch my phone, but I stepped back. The camera caught everything. Her screaming, the broken boards, the cement still dripping into the water. "You'll be paying for this," she hissed. I almost smiled. "Oh, I will, but not the way you think." Within minutes, another car rolled up. A shiny black SUV with the HOA logo on the door. Out stepped 2 board members and a man in a cheap suit pretending to look important. "Mr. Dawson," the man said, straightening his tie, "you're in violation of community development guidelines. This bridge connects to HOA property, and you're obstructing access." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean my private bridge on my registered land?" He hesitated, flipping through his clipboard. Karen whispered something to him, her face still red with fury. I let them talk. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded envelope, old yellowed paper, the original deed from my grandfather, complete with county signatures. "This bridge," I said slowly, "was built before this neighborhood existed, and it's legally exempt from HOA control." His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Karen stammered, "That can't be real." "Oh, it's real, and the county sheriff's office has a copy. Which means," I tapped my phone, playing back the footage of the truck breaking through the wood, "you just damaged private property worth $25,000. Karen went pale. The man in the suit tried to recover, mumbling something about insurance. But the driver cut in, furious. "You told me it was HOA land. I'm not paying for this." Karen spun on him, yelling. They argued right there in the mud, their voices rising over the sound of the creek. I just stood there, quiet, letting them destroy each other with their own lies. Finally, I said, "You should probably call the sheriff before I do." Karen glared at me. "You think this is over?" I looked straight at her. "No," I said. "It's just getting started." And as they scrambled to pull their half-sunk truck off my bridge, I walked back toward the house, the camera still rolling, because I knew exactly what the next move would be. By the next morning, the story had spread all over the neighborhood. People slowed their cars when passing my driveway, pretending not to stare. Someone had uploaded my video online, the one showing the truck sinking into the bridge, Karen screaming, and the HOA man standing there speechless. It had gone viral overnight. Comments poured in, mostly cheering for me. "Finally, someone stood up to those HOA bullies," one read. "That Karen deserves every bit of it." Karen, though, wasn't done. Around noon, I heard the rumble of another vehicle. This time, it wasn't a truck, it was a police cruiser. 2 deputies stepped out, hands on their belts. Karen followed behind them, waving papers like victory flags. "Arrest him!" she shouted. "He sabotaged community property and endangered workers." The older deputy looked at me, then at the bridge. "Sir, mind if we talk?" he asked. "Not at all," I said, handing him the same papers I'd shown the HOA man yesterday. The original deed, the survey map, and a USB stick with the footage. He looked over everything quietly, while the younger deputy inspected the bridge. After a few minutes, he sighed and turned toward Karen. "Ma'am," he said, "this land is registered to Mr. Dawson. It's not HOA property." Karen blinked, her smile fading. "That's impossible! The board said—" "The board," the deputy interrupted, "lied. And you," he said, holding up her fake notice from my door, "may have just committed trespassing, fraud, and property damage."
Her voice cracked. "You can't do this! I'm on the board!" The deputy looked at her flatly. "Then you should have known better." I didn't speak. I just watched as the deputies made her hand over her phone for evidence. She tried to protest, but one of them warned her to calm down. The cement company's driver was there too, recording everything this time. He shouted, "You told me this was legal, lady! My boss is furious! We're suing you!" Karen's face twisted, realization sinking in. All her fake authority, her shouting, her threats, it was gone. She looked at me, desperate now. "Please, can't we work something out?" I shook my head slowly. "You drove over my bridge. You broke my property. You lied. And you tried to have me arrested on my own land. You don't get to work something out." The deputies took her statement and let her know she'd be summoned to court. The HOA man tried to sneak away, but the older deputy called him back, saying, "We'll need to see your authorizations too." By evening, the sun dipped low, glinting off the broken bridge. I stood there with my daughter beside me. She asked, "Are they gone for good, Dad?" I put my arm around her and smiled. "Yeah, and next time someone tries to cross that bridge, they'll think twice." She giggled. "You really did set a trap." I laughed softly. "Not a trap, sweetheart. Just a reminder." I turned toward the fading light, the breeze moving through the trees. The bridge was damaged, sure, but I'd win the case, get it rebuilt, and this time, stronger than before. As we walked back up the path, I looked over my shoulder one last time and said quietly, "I didn't fight to keep this land just to let bullies walk all over it." And with that, the bridge stood silent, broken but victorious, just like me.